They were not dividing Asia, they were dividing Africa. What is it that is in Africa? You only divide that which is useful. Because that is how we divide cakes at weddings, because it is useful. There must be something in Africa. Everybody sees it, except us sometimes. And I know what is in Africa. First it was us, the men, who would provide labor. For that reason, they took away half of the population of Africa, 15 million. To the rest of the world. America is America because of Africa. When you go to the London Underground and you say, I'm in the tube, always remember that your ancestors were there. They took us, they enslaved us. And when they had used our labor after the end of the agricultural revolution, they came now, they were not satisfied because this land was too beautiful to be looked at from afar. They now came and colonized us. They now came and lived with us. What is so beautiful about Africa that if you can't control it from afar, you come and live in our very heart. What is it? I know what it is, but I'll talk about that a little later. When they had colonized us and we were agitated, and they dropped the thing called colonization, unknown to us, they brought another thing called neo-colonization. That is controlling our minds. That is why, unfortunately, even here as I speak to you, I speak in a foreign tongue. How I wish I was speaking in Chichewa. How I wish I was speaking in Kiswahili. How I wish I was speaking in Yoruba. How I wish I was speaking in Igbo. No. They left us the education system so that we are accountants, a good thing. Because the African state, the modern African state, is also a neo-colonial structure. LLB, London. We go to school, all of us, as I said a little earlier, but as my kinsman and my countryman, rather than my kinsman, Ngugi wa Thiong'o says, until the day that we decolonize our minds, we are going nowhere. I'm still talking about harmonizing our resource, because the greatest resource is the mind, the man whose portrait you've put there. One said, quoting James Lowell, he said, truth forever on the scaffold, forever on the crown, but that scaffold sways the future, but behind the dim unknown standeth God. There is a sense in which the mind is the standard of the man, and that is why I'm talking about us and our education. Dear accountants, qualified in Malawi, some chartered in the United Kingdom, and proud about it. Have we decolonized our minds? Have you ever had a person, including us, coming to Mangochi in this beautiful place, and when they see the beauty of Lake Malawi, in the unguarded moment they say, this does not look like Malawi? Have you ever heard that? How is Malawi supposed to look like? You come to Mangochi and you see the beautiful sun, and then somebody says, you look at this, you think you are in New York. Why? And you are in Malawi. Decolonize our minds. In a book written in the early 60s by Kenya's Ngugi wa Thiong'o, The River Between, one of his characters, Wayaki, he goes out to acquire what he called the white man's education, and he tells him, go out there, learn the white man's ways, but never lose yourself. We have acquired education which is good, because all education, if used correctly, is good. But how are we using that education? I'm suggesting to us that if we want to harness African resources for our future, the first thing that we must harness is our consciousness and our intellect. And we must believe that we are not children of a lesser God. If Africa is to be great, our men and women must believe that they are capable of being great, because they are great. The Malawian must believe that they are capable of being great. The Malawian accountant must believe that they are capable of solving every accounting problem that there is in the world. And the Malawians must not believe that this is too complex. Now let us invite another accountant from the UK. Even our government sometimes argue, this is too complex. We've got to do an international tender. An international tender means that you are going to bring somebody from outside Malawi and outside Africa to tell us the problems of Africa. Would India do that? Would China do that? Would the United States of America do that? Why is it that we do that? The first thing that we must do is to change our minds. And we must do it, and the sooner we do it, the better. You know, there is nothing wrong with the land in Africa. There is nothing wrong with our land. In fact, our land is the best. It is our mind, that is where the problems are. So if you thought I would tell you, let us open our minds so that Africa can be great, I will disappoint you. It is the mind that we must work on. Because if we talk about natural resources, sometimes I sit alone, or when I'm walking alone, I ask myself, God, and I imagine to myself, when God was sitting upstairs on the year dot, when the world was being created in the year dot, and they were looking at Africa, they must have said, this continent that is so centrally placed, because we are the most central of all continents, with the Tropic of Cancer and the Capricorn and Equator, with such a balanced weather, God must have said, let us hide all the minerals. I think it was hiding. So when you go to the Democratic Republic of Congo, look at what is hidden under her belly. All the minerals that you use to make your mobile phone, the essential ingredient, coltan, rare earth, the country that has the largest deposits on earth is the Democratic Republic of Congo. Tell me, I'm a visitor. Does Malawi make a mobile phone? No. And I can report to you, having traveled across Africa, no other African country makes a mobile phone, yet the essential ingredient for making mobile phones, the deposits are here in Africa. And God did not stop there. He once again, let us put the gold in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Let us put gold in Gold Coast in Ghana. Let us put gold in Nigeria. Let us put gold in the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa. And yet when we are trading gold, do we trade gold in Ghana? No. Gold is traded in London and diamond is traded in Amsterdam, where there is not a single diamond. And God did not stop there. They said that they need to eat something called cocoa, and he went to Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire and put all the cocoa in the world. But until only very recently, you and me, when we want to take good chocolate, we are looking at Lady Godiva. All the chocolate is made in Belgium and in Switzerland. And when you buy somebody Swiss chocolate, when you travel, they tell you when you are at Amsterdam waiting to connect to Malawi, they tell you, oh, don't forget to buy me chocolate. We who have gone to school, who have taste for chocolate. You can see our resources. All here. Look at the rivers. As a young pastor, we used to sing in school, the river Congo is not navigable, but the Limpopo, the Zambezi, and the Niger are navigable. Suppose we were to make all our rivers navigable, and they are navigable to a certain extent, I would be taking a boat from Zimbabwe to Tanzania and the entire SADC region. Today, if you want to fly from Lilongwe and go to Nairobi, you pay over $1,200 and you pay $800 to travel to New York. You wonder why Africans don't travel? They can't afford it. I'm saying all these because I hold the view that we have the capacity to harness all our resources. Look at electricity. The Congo River, harnessed, can produce enough electricity to light the entire continent of Africa. The installed capacity of electricity in Africa is less than the installed electricity in the continent of the United States of America. Here in Malawi, if you have 1,000 megawatts, you would be celebrating, and your politicians would possibly be, elect us again, elect us again. Iran produces more electricity than the entire sub-Saharan Africa combined, excluding South Africa. South Africa produces more electricity than the rest of sub-Saharan Africa. You talk about industrialization, you cannot industrialize when the power you have is no more, figuratively speaking, than the power that is generated by a candle. You can write about industrialization, but I'll not take you seriously. It's like the games we used to play when we were a little younger. You can say all manner of things. You can call yourself mother, father, but you are not mother at that stage. I'm saying this because we may think that this is not urgent business for us, but it is. Today, we are talking about the fourth industrial revolution. We are talking about robotics. We are talking about nanotechnology. But many times when I look at Africa, the Africa that I love, the Africa that you love, and you look at it and you are talking about nanotechnology, and we have had representation here about how MTL and the beautiful things that they do, and the fiber optics and all these optics that they keep talking about. But beyond Lilongwe, if you drive about 90 kilometers out of Lilongwe, or 90 kilometers out of Kinshasa, or 90 kilometers out of Bangui in Central African Republic, or 90 kilometers out of Libreville, Gabon, they live like they used to live in the 15th century. No electricity, no fiber optics. When you talk about fiber optics, they think you are talking about size of fiber. When I go to most African countries, including Malawi, I have to struggle. Even when they give me at the hotel, they give me, this is your Wi-Fi password. I still have to twist my head and find the right spot in my room so that I don't shake, that I may be heard from Nairobi, Kenya. We must be able to compete with the world. And it can be done. And there are things that are beginning to happen in Africa that tells us that it can be done. I've traveled across Africa in the recent past, and I see things that suggest to me that things can be done. You know, I traveled to Rwanda, which is a small economy. And I see the Rwanda that I saw in 1994 and the Rwanda that I see now. You may say all you want, but let us give credit where it is due. Let us give credit where it is due. I see a clean Kigali. I see internet connectivity. I see a people with a purpose, because leadership is also at the center of effective utilization of resources. If you have men and women who know what ought to be done, they will lead you in the right direction. If what is happening in Rwanda can be replicated, Africa will begin to move in the right direction. But Rwanda must be seen in the context of Africa. Rwanda is small. It becomes Africa, then it becomes big. I've said at another time that when you are small and you are doing good things, even when we praise you, if you are small and you are a goat, you can only grow to be a fat goat, not a cow. And a big portion of a small thing is still small. And it is not only in Rwanda that I've seen things happening. I've seen things happening even in Ghana. The economy of Ghana is now growing this year at 5.7%. It may not mean much, but at least that administration is saying we are going to have a factory in all the 290 districts of Ghana. Good thing. I've seen in Tanzania, even in Kenya, we now have one of the largest wind farms in Africa. Good thing. Africa is capable of realizing her potential. Even here in Malawi, you may say many things. Your per capita income is not anything to write home about. I know the levels of poverty, like in most African countries, are high. I know your agriculture is suffering. But imagine to yourself if Malawi were to choose to be the fulcrum of SADC. Imagine if Malawi were to focus on tourism. What don't you have? The cleanest is Lake Malawi. The cleanest lake on earth is Lake Malawi. When I tell people at home I'm now eating one of the best fish on earth called chambo, they have not heard of it. Have you marketed chambo so that it becomes famous? Why is McDonald's mere potatoes? Potatoes famous, and why is chambo famous? Can chambo be replicated and franchised to be produced in the entire Africa as a Malawian product? Can't it? It can, but it requires leadership. Men and women in position of authority that see, what do we have? What do we have? And God says, if, allow me to be spiritual about this. I'm not going to have an altar call. But I remember that day. It was in the morning, about 3,000 years ago. A man who, when confronted by God himself, said, I cannot even speak. Says, but am I not the God who creates mouths and tongues? And he was told to go and liberate the Israelites from Egypt. He says, what shall I tell them? He was told, what do you have in your hands? What do you have? Because we are in the Egypt of poverty. We need to be liberated. We are in the Egypt of poverty. We need to be liberated. What do we have in our hand? We must ask each country what they have in their hands. When I go to South Africa, what do they have in their hands apart from the human resource? They have gold. That is what they must cast down. When you go to Namibia, what do they have in their hands? They have diamond. That is what they must cast down. When you go to Angola, what do they have in their hand? They have oil. That is what they must cast down. When you go to Lesotho, what do they have in their hand? They have water which they can sell to South Africa. That is what they must cast down. When you go to Eswatini, what do they have? They have farms and the reed dance. That is what they must cast down. When you go to Mozambique, they have fish. That is what they must cast down. When you go to Zimbabwe, what don't they have? They even have uranium and farms. That is what they must cast down. When you go to Zambia, what must they cast down? They must cast down copper. When you come to Malawi, what do you have? You have graphite and you have chambo. That is what you must cast down. When you go to Tanzania, what must they cast down? They must cast down diamond. When you go to Equatorial Guinea, oil, they must cast down. When you go to Kenya, they must cast down something, oil and coffee. You go to Uganda, they must cast down something in Rwanda and Burundi, and you can go on to Nigeria, to Mauritania, to Togo, to Benin. We have something to cast down. But we need leaders. And you are the leaders. Don't look for leadership elsewhere. Don't look for leadership elsewhere. Political leadership is critical, but they are leaders. If the accountants of Malawi, 2,300, and your CEO tells me by the end of the year, those who are practicing without registration, we are to come and register, you will be 4,000 of you. If you speak with one voice, President Professor Wamutarika will summon you to the State House to ask you, guide me, intelligent men and women. But if you sit here in Mangochi as accountants, and then when you leave and you go out there, you begin to think like little tribes, then you will be manipulated like tribes. That is what we must do. In order to change our politics, we must only focus on the things that can benefit us. And I have no doubt in my mind that it can be done. It can be done. So what Africa do I see? I'm not a Jewish prophet. nor related to any one of them. I do not have the foresight of Moses or the eschatological vision of John the Evangelist. But I can see on the basis of the evidence before me that Africa can and will be great. Why do I say so when young Africans are trying to run away from Africa in order to avoid what they consider is tribal? Why do I say so when South Africans are sending away fellow Africans? Why do I see beauty in gloom? But is it not true that it's darkest before dawn? Is it not true, as the ladies here will attest to, that just before a bundle of joy is delivered when there is either a boy or a girl, that the greatest and the most intense pain is just before the delivery, when laughter replaces wailing. When the man who was sitting in the labor ward just before the pangs and bolted away when the pangs intensified after the delivery, he comes into the room and said, "Behold, I am a father now."